Welcome you. Today we're gonna see about chest pain. I'm Mohammed Suhail. Chest pain is a very common complaint. Many patients are well aware that it is a warning of potential life-threatening disorder and seek evaluation for minimal symptoms. Other patient includes many with serious disease minimize or ignoring its warning. Pain perception varies greatly between individuals as well as between men and women. However, described chest pain should never be dismissed without an explanation of its cause. Pathophysiology: the heart, lungs, esophagus, and great vessel provide a afferent visceral input through a same thoracic autonomic ganglia. A painful stimulus in these organs is typically perceived as originating in the chest, but because the afferent nerve fibers overlap in the dorsal ganglia, the thoracic pain may be felt anywhere between the umbilicus and the ear, including the upper extremities. Painful stimuli from thoracic organ can cause discomfort described as pressure, tearing, gas with the urge to eructate, indigestion, burning or aching. Uncommonly, other descriptions of chest pain are given such as stabbing or sharp needle-like pain. When a sensation is visceral in origin, many patients deny they are having pain and insist it is merely discomfort. Etiology: many disorders causes chest pain or discomfort. These disorders may involve the cardiovascular, gastrointestinal, pulmonary, neurological, or musculoskeletal system. Some disorders are immediately life-threatening, like acute coronary syndrome, thoracic aortic dissection, tension pneumothorax, esophageal rupture, and pulmonary embolism. Other causes range from serious potential threats to life to that are simply uncomfortable. Often, no cause can be confirmed even after full evaluation. Overall, the most common cause are chest wall disorder, like those with involving muscle, rib cage, and cartilage, pleural disorder, gastrointestinal disorders like gastroesophageal reflux disease, esophageal spasm, ulcer disease, and cholithiasis, acute coronary syndrome, and stable angina. In some cases, no etiology of chest pain can be determined. Evaluation of the cardiac patient, chest pain patient, where the history of presenting illness should note the location, duration, and character of the quality of the pain. The patient should be asked about any precipitating events as well as any triggering and relieving factors. Specific factors to note include whether the pain is present during exertion or at rest, presence of psychological stress, whether pain occurs during respiration or coughing, difficulty in swallowing, relationship to meals, and position that relieve or exacerbate pain. Previous similar episodes and their circumstances should be noted that the attention to the similarity or lack therefore and whether the episodes are increasing in frequency and in duration. Important associated symptoms to seek includes dyspnea, palpitation, syncope, diaphoresis, nausea, vomiting, cough, fever and chills. The review of systems should seek symptoms of possible causes which include leg pain, swelling or even both. So the on chronic weakness, malaise and weight loss is done. Post past medical history should document known causes, particularly cardiovascular and gastrointestinal disorders, and any cardiac investigation or procedures. Risk factors for coronary artery disease like hypertension, dyslipidemia, diabetes, cerebrovascular disease, and tobacco use, or pulmonary embolism, where lower extremity injury, recent surgery, immobilization, known cancer, pregnancy should be noted. Drug history should note use of drug that can trigger coronary artery spasm, like cocaine, triptans, and gastrointestinal disease like alcohol and NSAIDs. These are nothing but ibuprofen. Yeah. Family history should note history of myocardial infarction among first heart degree relatives at an age of less than 55 age in men and less than 60 age in women and patients with hyperlipidemia. Physical examination, a vital signs and weights are measured and body mass index is calculated. Pulses are palpated in both arms and both legs. Blood pressure is measured in both arms and pulses paradoxis is measured. General appearance is noted. Neck is inspected for venous distension and hepatojugular reflex, and the venous waveforms are noted. The neck is palpated for carotid pulse, lymphadenopathy, or thyroid abnormality. The carotid arteries are auscultated for Brut. Lungs are percussed and auscultated for presence and symmetry of breath sounds. Signs of congestion, consolidation, pleural frictional rub, effusion are noted. The cardiac examination notes the intensity and timing of the first heart sound and the second heart sound. The respiratory movement of pulmonic component of second heart sound, pericardial friction rub, murmur and gallops. When murmur are detected, the timing, duration, pitch, shape and intensity and response to the change of position, hand grip and Valsalva maneuver should be noted. When gallops are detected, differentiation should be made between the fourth heart sound, which is often presented with diastolic dysfunction or myocardial ischemia, and third heart sound is noted, which is present with systolic dysfunction. The chest is inspected for skin lesion of trauma or herpes zoster infection and palpated for crepitance and tenderness. The abdomen is palpated for tenderness, organomegaly, and masses or tenderness, particularly in the epigastric and right upper quadrant region. The legs are examined for arterial pulses, adequacy of perfusion, edema, varicose veins, and signs of deep vein thrombosis. Red flag. The certain finding raises suspicion of more serious etiology of chest pain. These are abnormal vital signs: tachycardia, bradycardia, tachypnea, and hypotension. Signs of hypoperfusion: confusion, ashen color, diaphoresis, shortness of breath, hypoxemia on pulse oximetry, asymmetric breath sounds or pulses, new heart murmur, and pulses paradoxes. Interpretation of finding. Symptoms and signs of thoracic disorder vary greatly, and those of serious and non serious condition often overlap. Although red flag findings indicate a high likelihood of serious disease and many disorders have classic manifestation, many patients who have serious illness do not present with these classic symptoms and signs. For example, patient with myocardial ischemia may complain only of indigestion or have a very tender chest wall on palpation. A high index of suspicion is important when evaluating patient with chest pain. Nonetheless, some distinction and generalizations are possible. Duration of pain can provide clues to the severity of the disorder. Long standing pain is not a manifestation of a disorder that is immediately life threatening. Such pain is often musculoskeletal in origin, although gastrointestinal origin or a cancer should be considered, particularly in the patient who are elder. Similarly, brief, sharp, intermittent pains rarely result from serious disorders. Serious disorder typically manifest pain lasting minutes to hours, although episodes may be recurrent. Patient age is helpful in evaluating the chest pain. Chest pain in children and young adults is less likely to result from myocardial ischemia, although myocardial infarction can occur in people in their 20s. Musculoskeletal and pulmonary disorders are more common causes in the age groups. Exacerbation and relief of symptoms are also helpful in evaluating the chest pain, although angina can be felt anywhere between the ear and the umbilicus. It is typically consistently related to physical or emotional stress. That is, patients do not experience angina from climbing one flight of the stairs one day and tolerate three flights of next day. Nocturnal angina is characteristic of acute coronary syndrome, heart rate, or coronary artery spasm. Pain from many disorders, both serious and minor, can be exacerbated by respiration, movement, and or palpation of the chest. These findings are not specific for origin in the chest wall. About 15% of patients with acute myocardial infarction have a chest tenderness on palpation. Nitroglycerin may relieve the pain of both myocardial ischemia and non-cardiac smooth muscle spasm. Its efficiency or lack, therefore, should not be used for diagnosis. Associated finding may also suggest a cause. Fever is non-specific, but if accompanied by cough, suggests the pulmonary causes. So the patient with Raynaud syndrome or migraine headaches sometimes have coronary spasm too. The presence or absence of risk factor of coronary artery disease alters the probability of underlying coronary artery disease, but does not help diagnose the cause of given episode of acute chest pain. Patients with those factors may well have another cause of chest pain, and patients without them may have acute coronary syndrome. However, known coronary artery disease in a patient with chest pain raises the likelihood of that diagnosis as the causes. A history of peripheral vascular disease also raises the likelihood that angina is the cause of chest pain. So, testing the cardiac patient. For adults with acute chest pain, immediate life threat must be ruled out. Most patients should initially have pulse oximetry, ECG, and chest x ray. If symptoms suggest an acute coronary syndrome or if no other cause is clear, troponin levels are measured. Expeditious evaluation is essential because if myocardial infarction or other acute coronary syndrome is present, the patient should be considered for urgent heart catheterization. Immediate catheterization is indicated in patient with ST elevation on ECG, non-ST elevation myocardial infarction causing hypotension, ventricular arrhythmia, or persistent chest pain despite optimal medical management. Some abnormal findings on the test confirms a diagnosis. Other abnormalities suggest a diagnosis or at least the need to pursue further investigation. Thus, if these initial test results are normal, thoracic aortic dissection, tension pneumothorax, and esophageal ruptures are highly unlikely to occur. So, however, in acute coronary syndrome, ECG may not change for several hours or sometimes not at all, and pulmonary embolism oxygenation may be normal. So, the other studies may need to be obtained. So, based on the findings from the history and physical examination. Because a single normal set of cardiac markers does not rule out the cardiac cause, patient whose symptoms suggest an acute coronary syndrome should have a serial measurement of the cardiac markers troponin and ECG at least 4 hours apart. Drug treatment for suspected acute coronary syndrome is begun while awaiting results of second troponin level unless there is a clear contraindication. A diagnostic trial of sublingual nitroglycerin or an oral liquid antacid does not adequately differentiate myocardial ischemia from gastroesophageal reflux disease or gastritis. Either drug may relieve symptoms or either disorders. Troponin will be elevated in all acute coronary syndromes causing cardiac injuries and often in other disorders that damage the myocardium. And CK may be elevated due to damage to any muscle tissue, but CKMB elevation is specific damage for myocardium. However, troponin is now the standard markers of cardiac muscle injury. Recent advances in high sensitivity troponin assay may allow for more rapid serial evaluation of possible acute coronary syndrome. With an improved negative predictive value, high sensitive troponin also has the potential to decrease the necessity of further testing in patients with negative biomarkers. ST segment abnormality on ECG may be non-specific or due to antecedent disorders, so comparison with previous ECG is important. Some clinicians follow these tests with a stress ECG or a stress imaging test. If a pulmonary embolism is considered possible, D-dimer testing is done. The likelihood of pulmonary embolism is affected by a number of factors which can be used to derive an approach to testing. In patients with chronic chest pain, immediate threats to life are unlikely to occur. Most clinicians initially obtain chest x-ray and do not do other tests based on symptoms and signs. Treatment. Specific identified disorder are treated. If etiology is not clearly benign, patients are usually admitted to the hospital or an observation unit for cardiac monitoring and evaluation is done. Pain is treated with acetaminophen and opioids. And pain relief following opioid treatment should not diminish the urgency of ruling out the life threatening disease. Geriatric essential. The probability of serious and life threatening disease increases with age. Many elderly patients recover more slowly than younger patients but survive for significant time. If properly diagnosed and treated, drug doses are usually lower and rapidity of dose escalation is lower. Chronic disorders are often present and may complicate diagnosis and treatment. The key points are immediate life threats must be ruled out first. Some serious disorders, particularly coronary ischemia and pulmonary embolism, often do not have classic presentation. Most patients should have pulse oximetry, ECG, and cardiac markers, and chest x ray. Evaluation must be prompt so that the patient with ST elevation, myocardial infarction can be in the heart catheterization laboratory within 90 minutes of time. If pulmonary embolism is occurred, antithrombin drugs should be given. While the diagnosis is pursued, another embolus in a patient who is not receiving anticoagulant may become fatal. Thank you for listening.